Good morning to you and welcome to Penn Vicarage. Hope finds you well and cheerful today. Well, we are working our way through 1 Corinthians, and I have to say today's reading are some of the best known and best loved words in the entire Bible. It's the famous hymn to love in chapter 13. Often read at weddings, sometimes read at funerals, but basically much loved and loved by lots of people all over the place. So without further ado, I shall read you the chapter this morning. It needs a bit of a flourish. I'll give it my best shot because it's just sit back, enjoy, free your mind, and love the words for this morning. Here goes. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if a hand of my body that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. Now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we shall see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide these three, and the greatest of these is love. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Lovely words, and I hope you enjoyed them this morning. Years ago, I was being shown round a parish, and there were several churches in this parish, and the rector showed me past one church. And he said, lovely church, but the people in there, very talented, but they just can't love each other. And sadly, he was absolutely right. I worked in that church for a while, and they were a lovely group of people. They had a great worship band, the worship style, they were relatively outward looking, they were friendly, as I say, talented, relatively young compared to many congregations. But sadly, a few months after I left, the whole thing fell apart. Two big families in the church had a big bust-up. Several people left, and it got back to ground zero again. Because the rector was right. Talented, gifted, but unfortunately, because they couldn't love each other, the whole thing fell apart. And I think there's a huge message for us, actually, in this, and certainly for the Corinthians, that actually love is what holds everything together in a church. And Paul is talking to the Corinthians, who are clearly very gifted people. And he talks about, and he says, it has some amazing things. He says, if I have prophetic powers, wouldn't we love for a few prophetic powers? If I had people who were so devoted that they give away their possessions, wouldn't that be wouldn't that be fantastic? If I had somebody in my congregation who had faith to remove mountains, wow, what a fantastic thing. But wouldn't any church love to have all these people? But Paul says, if you haven't got love, then these things count for nothing. And he's absolutely right. Love is what holds everything together. Without love, the whole thing falls apart and it doesn't work. So however gifted people may be, and we all want gifted people in our churches, we all want God to gift us and bless us, we all want talented people to do fantastic things, and that's brilliant. But it's love, my friends, that holds the whole thing together. He then goes on, I think, to tell us why it works so well. You see, if we're going to flourish in our faith, we need to be able to live as Christians. And also, if we're going to flourish as a church, we need to be able to do things and try new things and experiment and move forward and move on with God in our faith. And whilst people are being kind to each other, whilst people are being patient with each other, whilst people are understanding that sometimes I get my own way and sometimes I don't, whilst people are forgiving each other when things go wrong, then because of that, we can be free to try new things, to move forward and to flourish in our faith. But if people are constantly keeping record of wrongs, remember that youth club project that went so wrong in 1947, as long as we've got that sort of thing, as long as we've got people that want instant results and they want them now, as long as we've got people being rival, people having rivalries with each other and being competitive and all this type of thing, and people who insist it's going to happen my way and it's going to happen my way all the time, as long as that's going on, the church is never going to flourish, because we can't flourish in our faith. So what Paul says is love is absolutely key, because if we're loving with each other, we are patient, we are kind, we don't keep record of wrongs, we don't always insist that everyone does it our way all the time. And that way we can move together forward, flourishing in our faith, moving forward together. We can try new things, and if they go wrong, that's fine, but we're better because we tried them. And love is so, so important, because love frees us up in our faith to rest on the arms of God and to really, really flourish in our faith. But finally, he talks about love never ends. And I think this is so important, absolutely vital too. I always have a wry smile in my head. He talks about when I was a child, I spoke like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. I do feel I struggle with that one, because some of us have never quite grown up, have we? But Paul has a point here, that love actually goes on, that talents we may have actually wear out in the end, you know? Things that we could often do when we're younger, often are more difficult when we're older, or whatever, and vice versa. And there are talents that we come into when we're older that we didn't have when we're younger. I think it cuts both ways. But the one thing that can never go away, actually, is love. Love lasts. You can be loving right from the beginning of your life to the end of your life, because love never ends. Talents can come and talents can go, but actually love keeps on. And it's love in a church that keeps the church going, that keeps the church flourishing, that keeps the church moving and growing and being what it's meant to be. So, my friends, Paul is saying to the Corinthians and saying to us, great to have talented people, great to have gifts and talents, but we need love to hold the whole thing together. Without love, the whole thing's going to fall apart. That actually, if we want to grow as a church, then we need to be kind, patient, and forgiving with each other. That way we can flourish and grow, knowing that we're in it together. But finally also, if we're looking to be a church for the long haul, if we want to move forward, and if we want to flourish in our faith for the long term, then love is what we need. Gifts and talents are fine, but they come and go. But love never ends. And that is the highest thing. And that's what we should aim for. Lovely reading. I hope you enjoyed it today. God bless you, and I'll see you